Okay, I'm gonna teach the basics on how tornadoes form. Okay, so every single time a tornado happens, it happens from a severe thunderstorm, or specifically, it would be a cumulonimbus cloud, like the supercell clouds, and those are like the big, dark, really tall clouds that are like sort of billowing and rolling. Okay, but just because there's a severe thunderstorm does not always mean there's a tornado. It just means wherever a tornado, occurs, it comes from a severe thunderstorm. So when a tornado happens, there's multiple factors into its creation. So there's wind shear, and it's basically just when the winds from different parts of the atmosphere, have different varying speeds. So like, I don't know, these are made up numbers, by the way. So like really low to the ground, you have the wind speed of like 10 miles per hour, and then a little bit above that you have 20, a little bit above that you have 30. Okay, so those differing wind speeds help in its creation, and also especially the humid air rising from the ground, and then the cool air coming from the clouds. It churns the storm, so that's why you see the rolling occur. Okay, and just because it's rolling doesn't mean it'll be a tornado, but especially if it starts rolling, then you have to be very careful with that, especially if you're storm chasing. Okay, so alongside that, there's also the rain and the hail, which can bring more instability, and all those create instability, and it causes the storm to start stirring and churning and, rotating. And then once you have that rotation, okay, it may create the tornado, it may not, okay, but if the conditions are right, if they're perfectly unstable, if one of the things are off, like if there's not enough wind shear, if the air isn't humid enough or whatever, it's not going to create a tornado. But if the conditions are right, okay, if the conditions are right, if you have the cold air plus humid air turning, if you have the rain, you have the hail, you have the wind shear, then there's a potential for tornadoes. So if there's a tornado and you have all those factors in play, right, all those factors will make the wall cloud, so like, the clouds below, like when a tornado's forming, the tornado genesis, you notice the clouds start stirring, and at the bottom, the clouds start lowering, okay? And after those clouds lower, if it's still perfectly unstable, then the funnel cloud appears, and you see that funnel cloud rotation. There's already the rotation and the lowering, but the funnel clouds lower even more than the regular clouds. That's why you have like I can get this. That's why you will have the cloud, right? You'll have the cloud, and then it'll start like lowering. Let's just say like, oh, it lowers to here, right? You have the cloud, and then while it's doing that, it's still churning in here. But after that wall cloud lowers and it's still perfect, it'll come out, and then if it's a tornado, that will stay a tornado and not just like go back, up in the clouds and not become too unstable. Then it'll touch the ground, and the touching of the ground is what makes it an actual tornado. Okay, so if you have all the factors, okay, and then the wall cloud's lowering, and then this funnel cloud, then the touching ground, okay, when it basically touches down, then that's what the tornado is. And usually it's like vertical like this, although with certain tornadoes, they've been known to be more horizontal or sort of slanted, but most of the time it's up like this, maybe a little bit like this, but most of the time it's vertical. Okay, so that's just how basic tornadoes form. Of course, there's more things added and more scientific stuff, but that's just the basics.